Hey! Mama Shade just disappeared. Run!
In the heart of a bustling neighborhood stood a small food joint called Mama Becca's Bistro. It was not a big restaurant, nor was it fancy. The chairs were old, and the wooden tables had scratches. Yet, people rushed there every day. The smell of freshly cooked soup and hot rice filled the air, pulling in hungry customers from all over. People swore there was something special about Mama Becca's food, thick, rich, and full of flavor like nothing else in town. Even more surprising, the food was incredibly cheap. While other food sellers charged high prices, Mama Becca's meals were affordable for everyone. If you taste Mama Becca's food once, you will always come back, people often said. But something about Mama Becca and her children felt strange. They never took a break, they never left the joint, and they never smiled. Mama Becca ran the food joint with her two children, Becca JRB and Tommy. They worked from morning till night, cooking, serving, and washing dishes. No matter how tired they should have been, they never stopped. But what truly made them different were their strange rules. For one, they never responded to greetings. If someone walked in and said, "Good afternoon, Mama Becca," she would not answer. Instead, she would stare coldly at them and say, "What do you want?" First, new customers felt confused, but soon people learned not to greet them. It became normal. No one ever said hello or thank you. Even stranger, Mama Becca did not allow customers to bring their own plates. If someone tried, she would shake her head firmly. "We can't serve food in your plate. If you can't use ours, then leave." No one understood why, but people followed the rule. The plates in the food joint were deep brown, made of clay and slightly worn out, yet they were always clean and shining. But the strangest thing of all was how protective Mama Becca and her children were about those plates. If a plate fell and broke, their faces darkened with anger. If someone tried to steal a plate, something bad always happened. One man stole a plate, thinking no one would notice. That night, he claimed he heard whispers in his room, soft, eerie voices calling his name. The next morning, he fell sick and ran back to return the plate. Another woman tried the same thing, but when she got home, she saw the plate move by itself on her table. Terrified, she rushed back to drop it outside the food joint and never came back. People whispered among themselves, "Mama Becca's plates are not ordinary." As time passed, people noticed more unusual things about Mama Becca's family. They never rested. Most food sellers closed their shops at night, but not Mama Becca. Even when customers were gone, she and her children remained inside, cooking and cleaning. No one ever saw them buy food ingredients. No one ever saw them relax or sit down. They were always busy, always working. Some people began to wonder, how do they cook every day without getting tired? Why don't they leave their shop even for a moment? Why do they never look exhausted? And then people noticed something even stranger. Mama Becca and her children never used mirrors. Most people looked in mirrors when fixing their hair or dressing up, but not this family. Becca JRB braided her mother's hair without looking in a mirror. Tommy cut his hair without using one. One day, a curious woman asked Mama Becca, "Why don't you use a mirror?" Mama Becca's face hardened, and she snapped, "Mind your business. If you don't want to eat, leave." The woman quickly left, and never returned. A tea first. People ignored these strange things because the food was too good. But slowly, whispers started spreading in the neighborhood. Something is not right about that family. Why do they never rest? Why did they never leave the shop? Some customers became scared and stopped eating there. Others did not care. "I don't care if they are strange," one man said. "As long as the food is delicious, I will keep eating." But one boy could not ignore what he had seen. His name was David. David was different from other customers. While most people enjoyed their food and left, David paid attention to everything. He watched the way Mama Becca and her children moved, how they served food, and how they washed plates. One day, while eating, he whispered to his friend, "Why don't they ever smile? Why do they never stop cooking?" His friend shrugged, "Who cares? The food is cheap and tasty. Stop asking questions." But David couldn't stop thinking about it. That day, as he watched Tommy serving food, he noticed something strange. As Tommy placed a plate on the table, David saw the plate stick to his hand like a magnet. Before he let go, David's stomach tightened. Did I just see that? He decided to test Mama Becca. As she was clearing plates from a table, David smiled and said, "Thank you, Mama Becca." Mama Becca froze. Her face darkened. Her eyes glowed with anger. Then she spoke in a sharp, cold voice. "Never thank me again." The entire restaurant went silent. David felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly left. That night, he could not sleep. His mind kept going back to what he saw. Why did her face change like that? Why did she react so angrily? Something was not right about Mama Becca's family. David knew one thing for sure. He had to find out the truth. And to do that, he had to watch them at night. As the town slept, David made a dangerous decision. He would sneak to Mama Becca's bistro in the middle of the night. What he would find there would change everything. The night was dark and quiet. The streets were empty, and the wind blew gently. David waited until his parents were asleep before slipping out of the house. He walked carefully, his heart pounding fast. As he approached Mama Becca's bistro, he could see a dim light coming from inside. "They're still awake," David whispered to himself. He tiptoed closer and peered through the window. What he saw made his blood run cold. Inside the food joint, Mama Becca and her children were floating in the air. Their feet were not touching the ground. Their hands moved without touching the plates, yet the plates and spoons moved as if by magic. The cooking pots stirred themselves, and the plates washed themselves in mid-air. Even worse, their bodies looked transparent, as if they were not fully human. David's hand shook. He wanted to scream, but he covered his mouth. Then suddenly, Mama Becca stopped moving. She turned her head sharply, as if she had sensed something. Her glowing eyes stared straight at the window. David ducked quickly, his heart racing. Did she see me? For a moment, there was silence. Then a loud voice filled the air. "Who is there?" David ran as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he reached his house. He slammed the door shut and collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. David barely slept that night. The images of what he saw kept flashing in his mind. Floating bodies, moving plates, transparent hands. Mama Becca and her children were not normal humans. The next morning, David knew he had to confront Mama Becca. He returned to the food joint, and as soon as he entered, he said loudly, "I saw what you did last night." The entire restaurant fell silent. Mama Becca slowly turned to face him. Her expression did not change, but her eyes darkened. "You saw what?" she asked, her voice calm but dangerous. "I saw you floating. I saw the plates moving by themselves. I know you are not normal," David said boldly. Gasps filled the room. Customers looked at each other, whispering. Some laughed. "What kind of joke is this?" But others felt uneasy. "Now that I think about it, they really never take a break," someone murmured. Mama Becca sighed deeply. Then she grabbed David's hand and dragged him outside. She led him to a small corner beside the restaurant, away from the crowd. Then, in a low voice, she said, "You are right. We are not like you." David's breath caught in his throat. Mama Becca's eyes softened, and for the first time, she looked sad. Then she spoke. "A long time ago, we had a food joint in another town. People loved our food just like here. But one night, a terrible fire broke out. We were trapped inside. We burned and we died." David's eyes widened in shock. Mama Becca continued, "But for some reason, we didn't move on. We woke up here in this town. We were lost, so we did the only thing we knew how to do. We started cooking again." David felt chills run through his body. Mama Becca's voice became serious. "Now that you know our secret, I must warn you, do not tell anyone. If you try to expose us, you will regret it." David swallowed hard. There was something dark in her voice, something that made him very afraid. As he walked home, his mind was full of thoughts. Should I tell everyone the truth? Or should I keep quiet and pretend I never saw anything? One part of him wanted to stay quiet, but another part of him knew he could not let this secret stay hidden. Dear viewers, what do you think happens next? Are you curious to know? Then subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for part 2. Coming up tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.